For being. Thank you so much. The time that we spend together is generative in the sense that it's acknowledging the oneness that we deeply sense is what's true. So in this time of the short meditation to open the space, what we're doing is falling into the field of our true nature, awake awareness, which I equate with the heart chakra. And so it's like falling into love. So as we close our eyes, just to come inward, moving inward and deeper, close our eyes, and on a deep inhale, reclaim all of our attention particles from the external reality and back to our own heart on our own behalf. And on an exhale, relaxing in a deeper and deeper way. Opening the space of our true nature through our relaxing into it, like it becomes acknowledged as we consciously experience it, that opening, that presence, that aliveness, that scintillating effulgence that is the quantum field and is our true nature. The awake awareness is our knowing of that is on the, what we might point to as the collective, but it's all that is, and I am that. And so we come home to this. So now we'll just relax into a deep 5-minute meditation, falling into love. And so it is. Did somebody else show up here?
Yes.
Who is it?
Ajay.
Ajay, I'm so glad you're here. Who?
Cyrus.
Sarah. Somebody said me. Me. Me.
Magnesium.
Less.
Yeah,
Max.
And Janine showed up on the
all right.
word.
It's a- Do we want to go around the room for them or do them for
It
them?
was all for you.
Huh?
It's for you.
It's for me?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think you know
Yeah.
everybody.
Yeah, I do. Yeah. So the interest that's been coming up for me lately that's been brought up on our time together the past couple of weeks. And it's basically the categories AI and my kind of kindergarten model of how we are the original artificial intelligence, because in the myth of the fall, we were taken out of our hearts, and our response to the rational analytic, looking like polarity, looking like good and evil, looking like the tree of knowledge. And that with that partaking of that, we got caught up in the limited perception of the thing and the name of it being the same thing, which, as we know, is not true. It's not true for us. We are not the same as our name. We are an expression beyond that. A tree is not limited to that labeled tree. But when we have it that way, then we have created a reality in which, instead of connecting and knowing something in the true sense of the word to know, which is to be one with, we believe that we know it if we name it. So, and with that installation of that error or perversion in our true nature and what it meant to be present and connected to all that is, including ourselves, with that occurrence, we have been, well, in the Bible, it says we were kicked out of the garden, right? We are outside of the place and the experience of our true nature and oneness, awareness, and caught up in our mind. So what's occurred out of all of that over, if there are years and if there is time, and we can talk about it that way. Since then, what's occurred is that we have become language dependent. And we're caught up in believing that if I can say it or name it, I know what it is, and I can tell you about it, and you'll know what it is the same way that I know what it is. So this to realize that the error there is such a big part of why there's no sense of connection with each other, connection nation to nation around issues, because we all are set in our own mind with what's true, and we don't find it expressed from another, or if we do, and then we live into it in a dynamic exchange with them, we find out that it wasn't what we thought it was, right? That's what marriage is, yeah. Yeah, I thought we felt the same way about whatever. Yeah, so with this whole understanding of the nature of reality, when we do the meditation, however long it is, when we allow ourselves to experience our attention, it's like I always talk about reaching out your arms and reclaiming your attention from the external. The external is your mind projected reality, right? So all of our attention comes back and we fall into the heart chakra, the heart space, the awake awareness, the quantum field. Then we are returning to the garden in this metaphor that I'm using. So I guess I'm not worried about the AI that they're talking about now as technology, but I am concerned that we become aware of the AI that's created this reality, in which there's 7.5 billion wounded children running the show, or at least participating in the show. Right? Does that make sense to everybody?
Oh.
Who said no,
I
Max?
did.
Right? Okay. Maybe it will later. We'll
Yeah,
talk.
I saw something on TV the other night about where they had combined artificial intelligence, medicine and medical things, like glioblastoma, which is
A brain tumor.
yeah.
Mhm.
Never seen how they've cut the time down because of artificial intelligence
Right.
to recognize it and to treat it. And it was like hours instead of months.
Yeah.
Nothing interesting.
Yeah, there's lots of good news there. The difficulty are the contraindication comes with what we've done with our artificial intelligence, which I consider to be caught in the rational analytic and in the polarity that we've created this, which is I and an other, an apparent other, and us and them, and all of the conflict that ensues, to take that and to hype it up through technology. It can be scary. That's like we're doing as bad a job as possible. Now we're let them do it better and faster, right? That's what the AI technology wise can look like. So as we come home to our true self, what happens is we literally have the experience, what we call individually, which that's an error right there. But we have the experience of our world changing. And what that points to is the way in which consciousness interacts with frequency of thought, which is fear-based if you believe you're not good enough or that you don't matter. In other words, if you're still held in the concept of your identity that came out of the early wounding, if you're held there, then your frequency is going to be one of fear. And that, and when it is emitted, which it's always being emitted because we're frequency energy bodies, then its information into the quantum field is one that then shows up as a life where things look like there's me and them, where things look like that's a problem, where everything is seen through the lens of there's a problem out there because the frequency of fear creates the experience and the reality that embodies the experience with suffering, with a sense of being a person who can't get what they need. So what I'd love today is to have a conversation with all of you about the progress or the lack thereof that you've made in using the 6 steps to freedom, which help us to uncover. I love kindergarten models. I depend on them for my own understanding, but sometimes they're very close to accurate. And the 6 steps to freedom have that correlation because it literally uses the experience to go into the memory banks through the feeling and to come upon what was concluded that is the source of the frequency of your reality, which for most of us has been a combination, because it's a polarity, a combination of on a continuum of being difficult and well and suffering. And the other end of the stick is like, I did it, I got it made. This is really all good, right? Which is underpinned because each end shares some version of the other. You know, it's like the that diagram on the I Ching of the white and the black. And when you turn it, it's just like all mixed up. Well, we've got, even when we have, like we've succeeded, everything's what we thought we wanted. We've gotten the relationship, the money, the house, the life. We're on Maui, we're living the life, right? But even when that's going on, there is the underlying part of the other end of the stick where I'm suffering, I'm not good enough, and I don't matter. That's informing to some degree what we call the good end of the stick. So I know that all of you on the call and here in the room, we've used the 6 steps to freedom, but I don't know if it's helpful, this piece that I am sharing about the nature of reality as us being caught in language and therefore being caught in our minds, and that is not what it means to know anything. We don't get to know things by figuring it out rationally, analytically. We get to know things by being one with it. Our disinclination to connect with others or with circumstances or situations is our woundedness. Because that's all of that, the others and the circumstances are showing up based on our early wounding conclusion, which is a fear frequency. So I'd love to open up the conversation to see how we can start to allow ourselves to fall out of the mind and into the heart. And we do that through allowing these wounded perceptions which show up as problems, which show up as fear, it show up as limitation, to be seen that they are creations, to be seen for what they are, and to allow them to be dispelled. Nothing that is real can be threatened. Nothing that is unreal exists. This is from the Course. Everybody knows this from the Course in Miracles. Therein lies the peace of God. There's a great peace for us there as we relax into our heart and realize that we can risk everything, because nothing that is real is at risk ever. And that's our true nature. That's ourselves as awareness. And that's our connection in love, which has nothing to do with name or place or whatever the rational analytic has subsumed in its effort to have control. We use the rational analytic to justify, to explain, and to rationalize what our hearts can't allow us to experience. I should say that differently. We use the rational analytic to justify and to explain what we allow ourselves to experience when we're not in our hearts. And so the mind has been running the show. And this is where it's gotten us to, in what we think of as the collective conditioning of climate change and all of whatever war, all of the apparent problems are simply projections of the separation that occurred in the myth when we were kicked out of the garden, when we were kicked out of our hearts and our sense of connection with all that is, and into our mind with the idea that we could figure it out and that we could run the show, that we needed to control things, that we wanted to be as God, without the awareness that we were and are already that, the awake awareness out of which everything arises. So again, if we can open up the conversation, I'd love some experiences, I'd love some inquiries, and yeah.
You can go ahead and raise your hand on chat in the reaction buttons. If you're here, you can just go ahead and raise your hand and I'll call you, or you can just speak out.
So apparently I don't think it's very helpful, this this dynamic that I'm describing that has to do with the rational analytic being at the heart of why we suffer, right? I don't know that it's been clear in the way I've expressed it, or that anybody gives a shit, right? Because if you're suffering, it may not make any difference to you how and why that happened. You will just want to know, how do I eliminate it? How do I allow myself to be peaceful and free and happy? That may be where we are. Yeah.
Okay, Lori's got her hand up.
All right.
So I'm going to spotlight you and Pali.
All right. And I just figured out how to unmute so I can talk.
We can hear you.
Yeah, I think I've been cerebral my whole life, and somehow that blocks my heart. I protect my heart or something, because if I start to feel too much, I just block it right away and go back into my mind. And you talk about language and letting language fall away so that it can allow that opening in there. I guess I would just like your perspective on that thought.
Yeah, well, we know that, and all of us have had to some degree or another experience of what we call telepathy, and it doesn't depend on language, does it? It's like you get an aha, you get information. There is information there, but it's not necessarily expressed in language. It may be, but yeah, the mind has no answers, right? The heart has no questions. And that's what points to the fundamental error of having been so pulled into the rational analytic that we left our true possibility for connection and knowing, which is to experience oneness, right? And we moved into our mind where we thought we could figure it out and create a solution for it, when what we typically know in our mind is always distorted and camouflaged by our own limited identity. You can't, in the rational analytic mind, it's very difficult to get away from that. There does come a point at which thinking becomes a function, but until there's simply no longer a person that's confiscating rational analytic thinking or any other kind of thinking on its own behalf, it's not trustworthy. So as you start to come home to yourself, true knowing arises. You know, it's like we might call it intuition. That seems to be some of it, but it's like a knowing beyond language. It's an instinct. At some point, we will typically clothe it in language, because that's what we've all been programmed to do by the collective conditioning for more than one lifetime. So we do that. But as you come into your heart, and the question is regarding whatever the problem might look like, even sometimes if it's a problem with an apparent external condition, and you ask yourself, what do I want to experience? In other words, you're turning your attention away from whatever you've called a problem and come to your own heart, and you ask the question, what do I want to experience? Then you're in a total opening into wisdom. Does that make sense to you, Laurie?
Yes, it really is. When I was 19, I had a mission statement that I wanted to experience as much as possible, as deeply as possible. And when my husband was passing away, I was like, okay, universe, enough. I don't want to experience anymore. I've had it done. And I'm thinking maybe I've blocked it since he passed away. And I'm just now getting ready to like be willing to open up again.
Mm-hmm.
For example, today I called Women Helping Women
Mm-hmm.
to help counsel women through transition. And I think I'm ready to open the heart and start experiencing again. Yeah, thank you so much.
Yeah, when did your husband pass?
Would have been 2014.
Yeah, so the idea, see, you said you were like 19 when you made the commitment to experience as much as you could, right? Is that right?
Yes.
Yeah. The idea of experiencing is so limited by our rational analytic mind. We think it has to do with out there, right? Because we're here in a 3D reality, and there certainly are experiences to be had out there. But the experience that we long for is the true north experience of who I am, each one, the one I am. From that place, the frequency of that is no longer fear. And so what shows up in our world is going to be more, well, what shows up in our world, because it's not this gets into the quantum field theory, my kindergarten model. Oh, where we're observing potential possibility and we bring into it an intention about experience, right? And it's on the frequency of the need to get something or avoid something. That's the frequency of fear. Then that measurement in the quantum field results in the materialization of an event, a life, a circumstance that carries that frequency. So when we are back with ourselves, everything that we want, we already are that. So we are already happy and peaceful and free and alive. All of that's already what's true about us as our true nature, which we refer to as awake awareness. So from that place, the external takes care of itself. Yeah. Thank you.
Great. Thank you. Thank you for your insight. I appreciate that.
So Katie is next.
Where's Katie?
She's coming on just a second.
Okay.
Right there. She's right there.
Hi, Polly.
There you are. Hi, honey. My sweetheart.
So when I'm on with you, I feel more of my true nature showing up.
Mhm.
When I'm in relation with others, I feel all the limitations showing up. And, I came to a conclusion that I discovered on Sunday after a whole lot of conversation. I finally landed on the wording that felt like it resonated. And that seemed to allow like a little more space in my feeling of self. But then I guess it's like I just keep perceiving the short end of my stick. And I'm just like, fuck, is this it? Is this it? This short end of the fucking stick? That's my stick. And then I look to back up and let it go. And there seems to be, I can do that. But then it's like when I have to go back into interacting the way I think I'm supposed to create this life, it's like I got to pick up the stick to do that.
Ah, interesting. Yeah.
But if I go towards what it is I love, then I don't know how I'm going to get food or money in the bank or,
Right.
what I think I should have.
Right. Yeah. So that was the move from your heart to your mind. In your heart, you know what you would love and what you could express, but your mind tells you that that won't work, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. The interesting thing about the mind's position is that the frequency of the mind believing that your well-being is in quotes out there, looking like making the money for the bills, looking like doing what other people expect of you, all of that. That's the great deception. That's the great deception, because this is not a materially solved problem. We certainly can have the experience of shifting things in quotes out there, getting the better job, having the more money in the bank, whatever. But that's not going to resolve the identity issue. And because it's a frequency game. When I just mentioned, whatever you are believing, whatever thoughts come up out of that belief, like I would love to do that, but that won't take care of the bills. That is a frequency of fear. That frequency moving into the quantum field is like the scientists that measured the wave particle, the light wave, and it turned into a photon through the measurement. We are measuring the source of all reality at the quantum field level by what we believe, right? And so out of the fear-based idea that I've got to have money in order to be okay, that goes into the field. And then you will have the reality that confirms that and convinces you one more time that there's not enough of it or that you need to do better. But so the shift in us, who I'm being to myself, is at the heart of the matter of what reality I create. This is not like an ego efforting to hack his consciousness, right? This is about the very nature of our beingness and the wonderful kind of compassion and sweetness and coming home to our own heart that we abandoned with the early wounding. And so we've been caught out. It's like well, my metaphor keeps coming up. It's like we were kicked out of the garden, right? So now we're back with ourselves. We're coming home to ourselves. And now the garden begins to appear again, because the frequency of being on your own behalf, of coming home to yourself, that's the frequency of love. It's not a frequency of fear. And fear and love are not a polarity, even though sometimes we posit it that way. So the scary part is, to me, it shouldn't be that scary, because what we've efforted to do in the past has never quite worked ongoingly. It may work for a minute, right? So it's not as if it's a great risk to work at the level of frequency. Yeah.
Yeah, I've heard you say, or at least this is how I've remembered it correctly or not, that like the ego construction of Katie, however failing she is, will never get resolved. It will always stay like that.
Right. Well, and the thing that's confounding sometimes is that sometimes it seems to be resolved at that level. And so you start to invest more at the level of the problem, at the level of what looks like cause and effect. But what is a truly cause in the matter and what will prevail is who you're being to yourself.
Mm-hmm.
And that requires both seeing the conclusion, like I don't matter or I'm not good enough, and allowing it to be dispelled. And from that clearing, opening, that spacious sense of our own heart to show up in your world with not the need to, at the level of cause and effect, to correct or to make something happen, but at the connection to it all and the ease and the love that you are. It's I know it sounds woo-woo.
It doesn't sound woo.
Good. Yeah, well, you're in Northern California. I won't worry
I
about
know.
That's right. Yeah. The whole thing is we have been caught in this distortion field that the out there is where cause is, and it just isn't true. And if we have any willingness to honestly look at how our lives have shown up and what's happened and how it's come about, to the degree that we understand or know it, we will see that life is always in response to who we're being to ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
So through the distortion field of I'm not good enough or I don't matter, everything can look like a problem and something to overcome or engage with. It looks like the money problem. So how do I raise my kids problem, the relationship problem? It's always like that, right? Out there. But the reality is that when you come back to ourselves and we clear that distortion field, then we're simply we're no longer trying to reach out and correct something, because we've cleared the lens of perception. We've cleared the distortion field. And so now it still may look like my child is not thriving or whatever, but now it's not that you're going to try to control the child or wherever she's in school or whatever's going on. You will experience through the connection authenticity that is a frequency, a high frequency of love that will have amazing results in the external reality. And you've had some of that too. I know.
Yes.
Yeah.
But well, not but, is that process then just coming again and again up against all the conclusions you've made? Or is there like an experience where you can see through it and that helps resolve some of those conclusions faster?
Right. Well, the reason the 6 steps is so helpful is because it starts with you actually having a reaction that is caused by the distortion field, which was created by your limited self-concept. I'm not good enough, right? So when you're triggered, that's a direct access into what you installed, which may likely to be pre-verbally, and early on about yourself, that when consciousness is projected through it, creates a distortion field. So as Anais Nin says, we don't see the world as it is, we see the world as we are. And that's what she's pointing to. So now the world looks like it's out there. I've got to engage with it to correct it or to participate in it or whatever, I think, right? Instead of coming back to using the trigger to go to the conclusion and forgive yourself for believing something that couldn't be true. So it's a return to the heart, a return to the garden, a return to innocence, a return out of the projected fear-based reality. It's like you're reaching out your arms and collecting your attention particles back to yourself, because they've been, the minute that we had an incident occur with the wound, we got magnetized into the external. And so now we're looking for love in all the wrong places. We're trying to solve the problem and the feud and everything out there, right? When the cause in the matter is who I am being to myself. And so the work is very specific, actually.
Yeah, I think it's the forgiveness piece I always leave out.
Aha.
Yeah, every time you say the forgiveness piece, I'm like, oh yeah, I didn't.
Oh, there's
say
that.
it. I just get to naming what it is.
Right.
Like, can I provide another example where I was kind of caught in a glitch?
Yeah.
My schedule got changed and no one asked me. And it got changed last minute. And I felt like, they totally, the way the schedule changed felt so icky in the ethers of it.
Mm-hmm.
And it's as if they totally don't value me.
Right.
And so I was hurt by it.
Mm-hmm.
But then I thought, okay, because I have a defined solar plexus, let's just sit on this emotion and not say anything and get some clarity. So I did, and I was like, okay, in the grand scheme of things, it doesn't matter. What matters is that I have made this story that I don't matter. So then it's showing up that I don't matter.
Mm-hmm.
And then I just let it drop. But should I have done something more active on my own behalf, or just going into forgiveness?
Well, the opportunity, the opportunity is to see that this is the early wounding, that it got installed, right?
Mm-hmm.
So the very best thing with any trigger, you can certainly get to where you got to, but if you get to where you got to by smoothing over things, and instead of opening up the wound, then it's gonna happen again, because it's the same frequency you're putting out. So to do the 6 steps, the trigger, and to know it's about me, to use the feeling to find an early experience of that.
I mean, the feeling gets very heightened and like trauma based. It feels heightened and amplified.
Right.
So I feel like, oh, I'm in this, there's something happening here that's coming out in me that feels old.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's coming from my wounding. But the place I'm coming from when I'm both experiencing the trauma, but then the place I'm coming from doesn't ever make it feel like it's
Resolved. Right, yeah, so right there, instead of stay with that, that's right.
Uh-huh.
And to name the feeling, but the next step is what's your earliest memory of that same agitation, that same sense of that you just described, that same experience. To find an early experience of that is where the door starts to open for you to see what happened when that occurred to you, what you concluded, which is where the gold is. Yeah.
So how do you get to the earlier memories? Like
Well,
they've only come up in cranial sacral classes. So that's the only way I've accessed them.
mhm.
Otherwise, I feel like it's a shut door and I can't get in there.
Right. Well, usually it's through the feelings. So sometimes it can be through holotropic breathing with using the feeling, which may have happened in the cranial sacral work. But if that's where you can do it, you can do it there. But the opening is through the feeling. If you can allow that feeling through free association, it will likely, I don't think I've ever had it not evoke a memory of the same feeling. You're saying it's not, that doesn't happen with you, but my sense is to keep trying to sit with that feeling and to see, just allow that feeling to arise in consciousness, and there's likely to be a memory. It may not make sense in terms of that feeling, but if whatever memory comes up, it'll continue to open up for you, because it's in that memory that you concluded, it's in that memory, whatever that event was, that you concluded something about yourself that got installed.
Okay.
And once you get to what that is that you concluded, it may have been a memory of, I often use the sort of innocuous event of not being picked up from kindergarten on time, but you're standing there afraid. The teachers, you can feel, are getting mad at you. That's what you feel like you're bad, you're wrong, whatever. And then your mother comes and picks you up. But this has already been, it's been imprinted now. This identity conclusion. I'm bad, I'm wrong, I didn't do something right, it's my fault. All of that, right? And when you can see that, now you are evoking awareness, true nature, to look at that. That's why it's important to be able to allow yourself to, even if it's not even a true memory. If it's like the kind of thing that might have happened, and I came up with this conclusion. But at that point, as we move towards the forgiveness, the awareness that's looking at that early wounding, right, which was not available for that child, that awareness was not available. And so when you see that, and you can say, wow, it was never true. I forgive myself for ever having believed that. That was the experience that was not, it was unavoidable, right? But it didn't mean anything about me. I forgive myself for ever believing that I don't matter. And then to acknowledge and your true nature, which is I am the awake awareness in which all realities arise. That's who I am. And I've had this character, this avatar with its human design and its gifts and so forth, to interact in a 3D reality. Yeah. But that avatar was absolutely distorted. The body takes the hit to the degree that we believed what we concluded when we had the, is that Amelie? So yeah, so that's the whole thing right there. It's just this awareness. It's just like growing out. Yeah. I forgive myself for ever having believed I don't matter. I am the reality in which I am the space, the consciousness in which all realities arise. That's what's true.
Thank you, Pali.
Thank you, sweetheart.
That's helpful.
Good.
So now we have Nancy on Maui.
Oh, Nancy, you deserve it. You deserve at least another half hour, right?
Yeah. Hi, Polly. It's good to see you again so soon.
Yes.
Now, I just started the 6-step work on this, and I'm thinking taking one of the classes, the 6-step classes they offer would be really helpful.
Oh, totally. Yeah.
And my friends and I are doing a Course in Miracles for the second and third time, and we meet on Zoom once a week. So
Uh-huh.
it's really good to like discuss everything and, our interpretation, our experience of the Course in Miracle for the day.
Right.
And what's happened for me, I'm married. Today I realize that I have allowed my husband to take care of our finances. I didn't have any ownership in that until today.
Mhm.
I allowed him to do it, but now I realize he invited me into paying the bills and whatnot. But we always argued. So, and it caused anxiety in me. So I bowed out. We have a tax situation where we're already in an agreement with the IRS paying back $30,000. And then a few weeks ago, he didn't pay the taxes or put in for an extension. And I freaked out. They will eventually take our Social Security. What are you doing? And he says, I have until June and don't worry about it. I've got it. And I can't not worry about it. I have found that it lives in my head. Oh my God, around this. And so today with the 6 steps, or what I've done is I've gone back in my life where situations where I allowed someone to take care of me. And when I was young, my mom did this with all of us. You don't need to work. Here's money. Here's a car. Here's an apartment. Here's $100. Here's a credit. Here. And I got the belief that I can't do it myself. And I realized that when I was maybe in my 20s, like I'm getting really handicapped here, and I know that, but yet I kept accepting. And today I realized that I've really allowed myself to be disempowered by not engaging in a solution. But the feelings went back to being sent away. I was sent away a lot when I was young, and I had a lot of not good enough, I don't deserve, I'm unlovable, I'm broken. So I had that stuff, and I can see mine. I can go back and remember my situations, and I feel really good. I can go back and see them, and I can feel the feelings, and there's a lot there. And forgive myself is huge. To forgive myself for ever thinking I wasn't worthy of being loved or cared about or included. And knowing that I'm lovable and I am love. I am perfect love. Now I know I have more work to do around this. For one thing, sit quiet and then talk to my husband about, I apologized for not being a part of our finances. And I have a need to do that now to feel okay. And it's going to cause arguments and a lot of uncomfortability, I think. But that's where I'm at.
Right. Yeah, well, what I often say, and that applies at this intersection and that in your scenario, is that when we believe that we're not good enough or that we don't matter, and we're looking at an external reality where we have to get something or avoid something to be okay, authenticity flies out the window. You're not easily going to be able to express authentically what's true. Like when you were a young girl and mother just wanted to get rid of you by giving you stuff or handing you the money or the card
Right.
or whatever, right? And what you wanted to do was to connect with your mother, right?
Right.
So this entire thing is when you start to tell the truth, it's about you saying what's true for you. It's not against somebody else. And that can be an unfamiliar expression for us, right? We're not accustomed to saying what's true for us. We're accustomed to be moving into an adversarial interaction to try to convince somebody else that we're right or that they should listen to us. Yeah. So it sounds to me like you're moving really strongly into your heart on your own behalf, right? And as you are there, and you can reveal and you can open your heart in the discussion about the taxes and the budget or whatever with your husband, then it will land. It'll have a place to land that was not available when you were trying to convince him or control him or to have your way or to. And your way typically is to leave. It sounds like you just let things be. So as you're coming back, you're wanting to be included, and that's something that you can authentically say. I feel like I've been against myself, and I haven't been whatever's true for you. Authentically express that to him, and it may not go smoothly at first, but it's better than continuing the pattern. Because you're waking up out of a lie that was unavoidable for you to conclude about yourself. Yeah.
Right.
And it's going to be shifting and changing as you are from this new identity of your true nature as awareness. I am the awareness in which realities arise. Then from that place, the frequency and the field will so support your authenticity. Absolutely.
That's wonderful to hear.
Yes, and it's wonderful to experience. Yes.
Oh, good. I know you touched on that yesterday, but I really needed to hear more about the authenticity piece.
Yeah.
And also, would you tell me what is an avatar?
Traditionally, an avatar was an ascended being that was willing to take on a human body and be in the earth in order to help people. So it would be like Jesus or Buddha or whatever. Now the collective version out of game theory, gaming and so forth, an avatar is your representative in the virtual reality or the video game. Like he's your hero, that's your character, and you've got the joysticks and you've got him running around interacting and hoping to win the game. Yeah.
Right.
Now, the way I use the word avatar is that this body-mind unit is an avatar in that our true nature is the awake awareness, and this body-mind unit arises in that. And from that place, we're here in a 3D reality with our human design, our astrology, whatever. And we're engaged in what I suspect this is a good way to talk about it, is a virtual reality, a simulation. Yeah.
We are the game.
That's right. That's right. That's right. Does that make sense to you? Is that helpful?
That's it. Yes, that is very helpful. Thank you.
That's good, Nancy. Thank you for talking to me.
You bet.
Thank you. And we're at 3:30. So we're gonna take a pause here and go into a 45-minute meditation. You're welcome to stay on or leave as you like.
Last week, I closed my computer, which shut everybody in Zoom out of being kind of, you could still do the meditation with us, but I didn't mean to shut the door. I won't do it again.
Polly.
You going, night, sweetie?
Night, night.
Love you. Love you.
Thank you so much, Polly. Love you.
Thank you. Who is that?
Sergio,
Sergio. I'm so glad to hear. I think you're going to be here soon, aren't you?
pretty soon.
Pretty soon. I look forward to
We
it.
so look forward to it.
Keep yours.
Thank
open.
you so much, Polly, for your help. I appreciate it.
Good. It's my pleasure. It's my business doing pleasure with you.
Love it.
All right.
Okay, so now we're gonna go ahead and go into silent meditation. At the end, we'll just turn off the computer. You're not gonna say anything else. You're done, right?
I'm done.
Yeah.
I just need to get out of the room. We started? Yeah. All right. It's gone.
Thank you.
So do they sell books there at the book center? Yeah. Which one? Uh-huh. I want to get two, unless you wanted to jump on one thing. Or just.
Artificial intelligence.
You're gonna sign up for some, Max? You're gonna sign up to the AI?
Sign up for?
Yeah. Might as well get some of that, right?
I don't know, if that's something I should find.
I don't know. Oh, sweet.
But you're undoubtedly.
Oh, yeah, definitely, right.